I'm really excited to introduce, hopefully most of you have met her, Jessie West Gunteski. She is with OneClick Code. And I met Jessie about a year ago, I think, and I was fascinated to find out that somebody came up with a solution that takes the angst out of building codes because they're different everywhere, no matter where you are. And I just thought it would be really interesting to hear the story, hear about that technology, and understand how that can make a difference for what we're doing in the industry. So Jessie, you should be able to share your screen and dive right into the presentation.
Amazing. Thank you, Karen. Everyone, please excuse my voice, and I might need to pause and mute myself and cough. My son just started daycare, so it's a little bit of a doozy, but here we go. Okay. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful.
Yep.
So OneClick Code, in the simplest form that I can describe it, OneClick Code is making building codes automated. So what we do is save time, we increase accuracy, and we're improving the roofing industry one click at a time. So I'm going to share this little video because I think it does a really good job of describing how we're helping the industry by eliminating the friction between the two groups. So we oftentimes have contractors and adjusters who are battling against each other for the right information. So I'm going to share this silly little YouTube video.
Guys are told all the time that they could easily regain their youth.
Minus that guy.
This is a contractor, and this is a claims adjuster. The claims adjuster don't trust the quote that the contractor gave him, and the contractor would like to go on and get to fixing this roof. So it looks like we've got ourselves a conundrum, and only one way to solve it. You see, OneClick Code lets you squash your squabble in, you guessed it, one click. They've taken all of the roofing and building codes from across the whole gosh darn nation and put them in one slick report that you can trust. All you need is an address. So put all that fiddle-faddle to rest. Save time hunting down each code and, well, get to work. You'll probably get a little more cash in your pocket, too. Get OneClick Code. Fast, easy, accessible.
So that's our funny little video, just kind of describing how we've gotten to this place of friction between the two groups over something so simple as building codes. So why we got started. So our CEO and founder, Garrett Kurt, you guys might have seen him around at some of these events this year. He has spent 14 years in the property restoration industry. He's been a contractor, an adjuster, an appraiser, an expert witness. He's seen it all from the claim being filed all the way to the very end. And he realized that there had to be a better way to find building codes, and there had to be a better way to defend his estimate. So the way people are doing it right now is contractors and adjusters are using very outdated and manual systems to gather building code information to gather roofing estimates. This is one of my favorite images when I try to talk to somebody who says, oh, I know the codes, or I have a system set up on my computer where I track down all the building codes and I keep updated with them. I'm like, yeah, you're in the dark ages. You're essentially writing with a quill. So these manual systems of calling the cities and counties to find building codes for roofing projects leaves money on the table, and it wastes a lot of time. And it should be as easy as one click. So because we've built out this amazing system, we're able to provide contractors and adjusters. So we're on both sides of the fence. We're able to provide them with instant access to accurate jurisdiction accurate sales tax and accurate building codes that then would make up a roofing estimate. So, but how do we do that? It seems so easy, like, yeah, we'll just tell you the building codes, but it really goes one step further. And it's all tied up in this idea of jurisdiction, which is not a sexy word. I know I'm trying to make it sexy. That's my job as a marketer. Let's see if we can make jurisdiction sexy. But every property in the US is assigned a US postal address, but that's just for mailing. It does not determine jurisdiction. And this is the number one problem that I am educating people about today, is that yes, a house may say it's in Englewood, Colorado, but it's actually governed by the unincorporated Arapahoe County, for instance. So US postal address, zip code, or city name does not determine jurisdiction. So what we have found out is that jurisdiction is the key. And we've built a patent around this process of identifying the accurate jurisdiction based on geolocation of a property. Without doing that, we found that 45% of the properties in the US fall outside of the city that's listed in the postal address. So if you're making an assumption on jurisdiction, you could be wrong upwards of 45% of the time. And if you get the jurisdiction wrong, you get the sales tax wrong, you get the building codes wrong. So we see that these errors can lead up to 25% swings in estimates, which is huge. It may seem like pennies in the moment, it could be hundreds of dollars in the moment, but over time, if you're doing massive amounts of roofs, it adds up. So for an example, this house here in the yellow section, this has an address of 3731 South Galapagos Street, Englewood, Colorado. If we look on a map with jurisdictional outlines, it's actually in the city of Englewood. Then we have an address 10694 East Powers Drive. It's also in Englewood, Colorado, but it's actually governed by Arapahoe County. And the price difference on the cost to repair that roof is massive. So I'll show you this example in one of our snapshots. So this is what somebody would see if they opened up our app and they typed in an address. They would see the jurisdiction. But when we compare them side by side, a house in Englewood, Colorado, the city of Englewood, their sales tax is 7.75%. Arapahoe County, sales tax is 4.25%. Then you have permit fees, which can really change based on jurisdiction as well. And then also building code adoption. So ice and water shield is required in the city of Englewood. It is not required in Arapahoe County.
Hey, I can attest that Colorado has the worst tax codes in the country. It's a nightmare. Sorry to interrupt.
It is.
I just wanted to validate your statement.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it, Greg. So people often will say to me, oh, but I know the codes in my area. Yes, but are you getting it right? Are you getting the jurisdiction right? Are you getting the sales tax right? So that's where we come in. We did this really cool case study with an insurance carrier this year. It was the top 50 US carrier. They gave us 500 plus properties so a hailstorm hit in the Midwest. They had 500 plus claims, and they said, how many of these did we get right? And when we did an address lookup for all of the claims, we found out that 36% of the properties were assigned the wrong jurisdiction. So that insurance carrier over or underpaid those claims 36% of the time. So this is just a massive problem that not a lot of us know about. And so a lot of what I'm trying to do, not only trying to get our product out in the market, but is to educate people on how to identify the correct jurisdiction for each property. And so how do we do it? How do we find the jurisdiction? Well, like I said, we pinpointed it to a geolocation. So we have a patent on identifying each property as a geolocation. We spent the first 2 years of the company actually manually calling and emailing 30,000 cities and counties across the US. And we have since then maintained that database of building code and permit information, and we update it daily. So we have a huge code team that works for us. We have built out an internal process as well to help us automate those communications with the municipalities across the US. And now what we're doing, now that we have this big database of data that we're holding on to and updating daily, we're now working with insurance carriers and contractors and adjusters to gain as much adoption as we can. And the key to that is being a source of truth. So we're not, like I said, we're not picking sides. We just want to be the source of truth, showing people that when you write an estimate, that these are the correct items that are going in, so you're not getting blindsided or having the claim go back and forth a million times. So how the app works from an individual contractor or an adjuster holding their phone, you can do it on the phone or your desktop. You type in a property address. As you can see here, this would just be like your list of addresses that you've been working on, your list of properties. Then you get a snapshot, which will tell you immediately the jurisdiction, sales tax, what code book is being enforced, and then is ice and water shield required, yes or no? Is drip edge required, yes or no? And then out from there, we take it one step further and we provide documentation. So this piece is crucial. The documentation is for them. And when I say them, I mean anyone who is going to be looking at your claim, say an insurance adjuster, an insurance carrier, who's going to say, yes, I'm going to approve this roofing estimate, or no, I'm not going to. We provide them documentation to back up what we're telling you. So we give actual code language for each of the code line items that we're saying yes or no to. So you're not copying and pasting from the municipality's website. You're not having to go through all the code books and look up the code. It's already in there for you. And then we go another step further and we do a manufacturer spec report. So we allow you in the app to select, okay, I'm using GAF or I'm using IKO or whatever manufacturer you're using. You choose the product. So in this case, I chose a GAF Timberline HD. In some cases, the manufacturer will require ice and water shield when the code does not. So in that case, we would show you, yes, it is required because the manufacturer is requiring it. So we're just giving the documentation to back up the truth of your estimate. We also provide estimating tools. So ventilation calculators, ice and water shield calculators, and waste calculators. There are a few out in the market right now. We think ours are cool because they allow you to copy the note and then edit the note. So you can take all of this math and put it right into your estimating platform. And if anyone wants to go play with this, I'll show you where to find these things after. But they're pretty cool tools and they're free. And then how much does it cost? So that's a natural thing that people ask. So it's $3 a project, essentially. We are rolling out some new plans starting in the next couple of weeks. We're integrating with Hailtrace, which I'm sure all of you know Hailtrace. They're an incredible weather source. We are going to start providing hail and wind data provided by Hailtrace on our report as well. So you'll have a 3-year hail and windstorm history for every project with documentation to back it up. And then we're also rolling out a free plan. So we'll have a starter plan that will give you 2 addresses per month for free, so that people can just use the product.
That's the best one in the industry, by the way.
Hailtrace?
Yep, you partnered with the right one.
Agreed.
Yep, Derek's great.
He is great. Yes, I love them. They're a great team. So we feel very lucky to have them. So that's that. So I would love to open up the table for questions.
Jesse, I have a question.
Yeah.
You and we talked earlier in the week just to kind of talk about the presentation. First of all, wow, That was very impressive. Most of you know, I had worked at EagleView for some time, and it kind of is taking that role of being that neutral third party that says, hey, we're just giving you the data. You guys stop fighting. And so that's very impressive. But the one thing I wanted to ask was, we talked about some codes being actively enforced versus being enforceable. Can you just talk about, are you able to provide that information, and what does that mean?
Yeah, that's a great question. So oftentimes you'll provide in your estimate, oh, well, here's my code line items, and an adjuster will come back and say, oh, well, that's not enforced by the county. So what we do is, when we call these cities and counties, we confirm with them, are you enforcing code? Yes or no? And so on I'll actually pull up our platform here so you can see where it's at. But we get the confirmation from the cities and counties, yes or no, we do or do not enforce code, and we put that on the snapshot. So here, let me do a little screen
While
share.
you pull that up, you had explained that to me. It's kind of like a speed limit, right?
It is, yes.
And you're supposed to drive 55, but people are driving 65, and then are they shooting radar at you or not?
Exactly. So that's how I like to describe the enforced versus enforceable. So is saying that yes, ice and water shield is required, but is anyone actually going to be checking? And so when we call these cities and counties, we say, okay, so the speed limit is 50, but are you actually going to be out there and enforcing that speed limit? Yes or no? And so we put in the code enforcement, yes. Code enforcement, yes. In a lot of these rural areas, like really rural places, there is either no code enforcement. And so we do have a document for that too, which will show you code is not being enforced at this level. And then we'll give you the breakdown for that as well. It's a great question.
I have another
Anybody
question
else?
too. I do.
Yeah,
Sorry.
go for it.
So y'all start thinking of your questions while I'm asking this. I'm just curious because most of the examples are very residential. But about the commercial side of it, I imagine, codes are codes, whether they're applying to residential or applying to commercial. You have all of that information, and do you do much with commercial properties?
It's a great question. Yes, we do both. So right when you type in a property address, we ask you to tell us, is it residential or commercial? We don't have a way of determining property being residential or commercial on our end yet. So we ask the user to provide that. If you click on commercial, you will get the IBC, so what code book they've adopted with the IBC, and then we'll give you also the IECC code, so ceiling, wood frame R values, insulation. So we do go into the commercial space as well.
Okay.
And I can
go ahead, Jesse.
Oh, I was just going to say, I could show just briefly what the snapshot has on it. So when I type in a property address, you get the jurisdiction, the sales tax, then you get the code book that's being enforced, the line items, the chief building official's name and contact info so that you can bug them if you need to. Then we give you the IECC, so elevation, climate zone, R values. We go into property details, and these are important for if the home was built before 1965, did they use nominal lumber in the roof? Do you need to do a full redecking? So that's important information. And then if you're flying drones, do you need authorization ahead of time? Yes or no? In this case, yes, you do, because it might be near an airport. And then this is where the hail trace data will be. So it will be hailstorm data, and then we'll have a section for windstorm as well. And then here are all the different report types that we offer. So we offer a code detail report, manufacturer requirements report, building design criteria, which goes into snow load, wind speed, anything that you would need for doing a total replacement. And then in Colorado, we do a permit fee calculator, and we're going to be expanding that nationally so that you can know ahead of time what is your permit going to cost, so that you can put that on the front end of the claim as opposed to the back end.
Yeah,
And
it's a
then
good
the
deal.
hail. Yeah. Yeah.
And so-
Jesse, I had one quick question.
Yeah.
Karen, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Jesse, so obviously it's right now primarily residential focused, but do you see as your roadmap to maybe look to expanding to kind of commercial construction at some point?
We do commercial. Yeah.
You do, okay.
So it just depends on the address. So these are all residential, but let's do 333 West Hampton. This is a commercial space. So we'll go here, we'll type in commercial.
You're doing this in real time, right? So this is how this is how quickly the results come back.
Yeah, so here's the building itself. This is the Chase building off of Hampton, if anyone is in the Denver area. This is the sales tax. Then we tell you what code book, what IBC book is used. We do get into the shingle line items. So this is more like shingle roof, right? Instead of flat roof for ice and water drip edge. But down in this section, we tell you the insulation above and below, and then the R values for this property.
Great, thank you.
I was just going to ask about adoption because you said, you spent 2 years building it and it's only been actively available for 2 years maybe now?
Yeah, so we started in 2017 calling all the cities and counties and building our database and kind of building out our system for gathering that data. And then we went live with a free version in 2019. And then we started charging for our services in 2020. So it's really only been 2 years or so of real business.
And were people so hooked that they didn't mind paying for it then? Was that the idea?
Well, it's really interesting. On the contractor side, we have a lot of people who think our service is too expensive. Even at $3 a roof, it feels expensive for them. On the other side, for bigger contracts, they feel like it's really cheap. So it just really depends on the demographic. And since we sell to so many different groups of people, we see all different types of adoption. But we have over 16,000 users and we've generated almost 200,000 code reports to date. Yeah, and
it's so amazing. It's so amazing, Jesse. When I met you at SRC, I'm like, wait, what do you do? It's really awesome how it's all so easy.
Thanks. Yeah, it's something that seems so simple and it's still so manual. So it's just getting people to get over this idea of like something that they've done a certain way forever. It's trying to change their mind on how they do it. So yeah, the educational piece has been the biggest hurdle.
Can you just put the link up so I can send it to my estimating department?
Yeah, absolutely. I will share the link in the chat. So we offer a 14-day free trial. So you can try it out for 14 days for free. And then in that time, if anyone has questions, please reach out. Be happy to assist.
Wow, Jesse, thank you very much. We love learning about cool new technologies, and this is certainly up there with them as a game changer for not only the roofing contractors, but the insurance companies too. And helping everyone get along, hopefully just a little bit more.
Exactly.
Does anybody have any last questions for Jesse before we move on?
And I'll say just Jesse and their CEO are on our podcast. And so feel free to share that podcast. They did a great job. It was great to learn about them. So good to see you, Jesse. And hey, everybody.
Thanks, Ryan.
Good job,
Hey,
Jesse.
Ryan.
Well done. Well done. It's cool.
Great job.
Thanks, Greg.
You bet.